Hi, everyone, and welcome back to a Criminally Basic podcast. My name is Megan,
And I'm Hannah.
and y'all buckle up because this one is intense. This is a solved case, so we're not going to
Oh,
be like super stressed at the end,
good.
but goodness gracious, I don't even know where to begin with this one, where to start. Stay off a Craigslist, I think, is really what we can glean from this episode. Let's just get into it, shall we?
Yes, let's
All
do it.
right. So, for this episode, our main antagonist is named Brady Oestrike. Brady was from Wyoming, Michigan, which I didn't even know was a place. And he was born in December of 1982 to Richard and Christine Oestrike. He grew up in a relatively conservative Christian home and was the only boy out of a total of 4 children. Growing up, he would go on mission trips to Haiti and help build schools and hospitals, and he would later go on to work at a local electric company repairing power lines. Not very much is known about his early life, and since this isn't a super high profile case, there's not much that's really available. But from what I could scrape together, there really wasn't anything too alarming in his early life
Yeah.
to indicate the just insanity that was about to ensue.
Oh, that's always the worst.
Right? I sometimes with people you can tell, that something is
Yeah.
off. And there were a few people in his life, like I saw a few interviews with friends who were like, yeah, I mean, there was always something a little weird about him, something a little off. One of his really close friends would end up kind of going on to say that, yeah, there were some major red flags, but within like his early childhood and growing up, there wasn't anything that was outwardly alarming.
Yeah. Weird does not equal murderer. But
Correct. Even though some sources differ as to his early life, one thing that every source I looked at agreed on was his enjoyment of just medieval things in general. Renaissance fairs, Elder Scrolls games, he had a sword collection, all that jazz. We also do know that he was engaged in 2013, which was 1 year before the tragic events that this episode centers around. But they did break it off later that year. According to activefugitives.com, though, the relationship was never violent and the split was quote unquote amicable.
well, that's good
Um,
at least.
yeah. Side note to that, I did see a source that say that she moved to Canada afterwards. Um,
I mean, depending on how bad this is, I can't blame her.
she got out while she still could.
Yeah.
Before things turned murderous, spoiler alert, there was one major red flag that Brady's behavior was taking a concerningly dark turn, like a disturbingly dark turn. Brady was someone who perused Craigslist from time to time, and it
Oh,
was on Craigslist that he would find a woman looking for a quote unquote friend.
that's not going to end well.
No, it really doesn't. And whether there was any kind of innuendo to the word friend, I don't really know. I think we can kind of assume that there was.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but I couldn't find the original post or the original messages anywhere, so I can't 100% say that for sure. But we do know that she and Brady messaged back and forth a few times and they agreed to meet up. Here's where things start to get wild. So he asks this woman if she wanted to get in a suitcase and go back to
Uh,
his house. She agrees.
oh, okay. Little odd.
Yeah, I think we can maybe more confidently say that there were some interesting preferences there.
To say the least.
Uh-huh. But she agreed. And about halfway home, she's just in the suitcase. Brady pulls the car over and sprays something into the suitcase. We don't know exactly what it was, but the woman said that it made her groggy, so it was likely some sort of drug.
Chloroform do that?
Possibly, I don't know um if chloroform is like sprayed, how
Yeah.
like what the effects are. I'm kind of more familiar with the stereotypical chloroform soaked rag over your face
Yeah.
method of
Yeah.
knocking someone out,
Same.
right? As
I know I'm not making it.
as TV and movie as that sounds.
Yeah.
Um, but she did say that it made her groggy and not really super aware of her surroundings. So they get to his house, and Brady forced this poor woman to cater to his every whim.
Oh, poor lady. Oh.
Yeah, there was torture involved, there were chains, there was a cage. Uh,
Oh, ooh.
yeah, I'm not going to spend too much time on this because her name is not publicly known. At least, like, I couldn't find it in all of my research. So I'm assuming that she doesn't want to be, involved in this, have anything to do with this. So I'm just going to leave it at that. After a month, she ended up escaping. But as with many abusive relationships, he convinced her to come back.
Megan, no.
I know, the torture would continue, but happy ending for her, she was able to leave.
Oh, thank God.
She did go to the police, but surprisingly decided not to press any charges against him.
What? How? Why?
I
Oh,
honestly don't know. I think it may have been something where she was genuinely just too traumatized by the whole thing. I mean, I think we can really see how much of a hold he had over her,
yeah.
and it was just too much. But police were at least aware that he was maybe someone to keep an eye on.
Yes.
Enter Brooke Slocum, age 18, and Charles Openear, age 25. The two were dating, although Charles was more of a boyfriend slash pimp type.
Oh, ew.
Brooke was pregnant at the time, but even through her pregnancy, she would exchange sex for cash through Craigslist.
Oh, poor baby.
I know, this just makes me so angry. She was
Angry and sad and just, oh.
mhm. She was pregnant with Charles's baby. They knew that it was his for sure.
Mm.
At least I think they stated that it was his, so
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with that. But unfortunately, through this Craigslist ad, Brady found her and, like his previous victim, arranged to meet her. Even though they arranged to meet, she did not go alone. Charles was with her, as he
Good.
usually did when he was pimping her out. But unfortunately, Charles would not survive this terrifying and ill fated encounter. They met at a nearby park, and although it's not known exactly what happened, Charles's headless body would be found several days later when he failed to show up to work.
When heads are decapitated, I'm out. I'm done.
I don't think I mentioned this later actually because I just found this out literally 5 minutes before I hit record. Um, but they were able to find his head in 2019.
How many years is that after?
5.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Where was it?
So it was about 30 minutes away from where his body was found. I believe it was
Oh,
in a field, as random heads usually are.
yeah.
They were able to identify him through dental records, so his family at least has that closure. Doing what police do, they were able to search Charles's things and realized that his girlfriend was missing as well. I think her father actually did end up calling police when he wasn't able to get a hold of her. So through, just basic detective work, they were able to put two and two together and a search began for her. And that search would soon lead them to her Craigslist exchange with Brady.
Yay for good detective work, but I'm just not liking where this is going.
No, absolutely not. Before they even got a search warrant, police were stationed outside of his home. However, they would end up being too late. Again, I'm not really going to go into detail as to what Brooke endured over the 4 days that she was with Brady.
I feel like we can all gather that it was horrible.
Yes, absolutely terrible. Yeah, she and her unborn child
Oh, babies.
were
Oh,
found deceased in his home.
oh, oh, poor babies. A baby with a baby and oh, poor things.
Brady, sensing that, there were police outside of his home and they were probably going to find him, decided to make a run for it. Brady decides to flee his home, and a police chase would ensue through the city streets. That police chase would end with Brady crashing his car. he decided that rather be, arrested and stand trial for his crimes, he would rather not go through all that. So he took a pistol from his glove box and ended his life.
Okay. I don't understand why these idiots want to do the crime but will not do the time.
It's so frustrating when a crime ends like this, when the
Yeah.
perpetrator is dead as well, because even through the most horrible, gruesome crimes, you want to see the person who did them brought to justice.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, when that person decides that they would rather take their own life than stand up and say, yes, I did these, and take their punishment, it's almost like there's not closure.
Yeah.
At least to
And
me. I can't speak as, a family member of a victim, but to me, from an outsider's perspective, it's very frustrating. Fortunately, they were able to say with 100% certainty that Brady did commit these two murders. Part of what makes this case a little bit more popular than something really obscure is because Brady had a lot of video cameras set up in his home.
please tell me there's videos of it, aren't there?
There are. Those videos have not been released to the public.
Good.
There are a few clips of him like basically setting up the crime. So before anybody was ever in his home, they're chilling because you know that
Oh,
something horrible is about to happen. It's horrible and tragic, and those videos have never been released. They should never be released. Unfortunately, even though it doesn't feel like we have closure to this case, it is closed. Police are 100% sure that Brady was the one who committed these crimes. And I guess, fortunately, seeing a silver lining on this, he is not able to hurt anybody else ever again, as twisted of a silver lining as that may be. Thank you all for listening to A Criminally Basic Podcast. If you'd like to learn more, check us out at A Criminally Basic Podcast on Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter.
and check out our sources as well as photos on our website, www.acriminallybasicpodcast.podbean.com.
Thank you all for listening, and we'll see you next week.